Happy Friday night. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, back from Big Ten Media Days. And I think we've determined Indianapolis, not an easy place to get to in July, especially during thunderstorm season, but we're back. Steve Sipple and I, we're going to give our thoughts from Big Ten Media Days and Husker Online headlines. But first and foremost, we're going to need the headline number one. And this literally happened as we hit ground, Steve Sipple, on Friday about 5:30 in the evening. Nebraska makes the announcement that tight end Bob Wager has resigned from his position. Now it's been confirmed. Now we just confirmed it ourselves here as well that Wager picked up a DUI Wednesday morning, right outside the Haymarket area here by Pinnacle Bank Arena on Canopy Drive. According to the Lincoln Police records, refused a sobriety test, refused a field test. And the report from Nebraska, the statement, acknowledged that he resigned and made a regretful mistake with a traffic violation. But Bob Wager, Steve Sipple, no longer Nebraska's tight end coach. Practice starts Monday.
Yeah, it sounds like they can transition pretty seamlessly. I don't want to diminish the importance of this, but they have Coach Martin, Josh Martin, who's highly thought of within the program, helped with the tight ends in a big way already. So familiarity is no problem. Again, I don't want to diminish when you lose a full-time assistant 2 days before camp. Fall camp begins. I mean, the players report Sunday, so this is not, it's terrible timing. Sort of interesting that I don't know. I mean, I don't know what Wager's background is, Sean. I mean, is this his first one? His first DWI, second? I don't know. Nobody knows that right now. We've had Nebraska assistants survive this sort of thing. Keith Williams during the Mike Riley era wasn't fired. I think that this jibes with the current head coach, Matt Rhule's sort of stringent accountability. And when you're building a program, keeping a coach who errs like this right off, I don't know if that's sending a great message to anybody. So I think this is very Matt Rhule, just to say, that's it. You're done.
Yeah, we're not going to try to make this work. And you think about Matt Rhule gave Bob Wager the opportunity of a lifetime.
Yep.
Said, hey, you got an opportunity to be a Big Ten tight ends coach in a room that has Arik Gilbert, a former 5-star tight end, Thomas Fedoni, the number 1 tight end the year after that. You've got some really good tight ends to work with. I mean, this was a job that it'd be pretty hard to mess up, coaching tight ends at Nebraska right now with the talent that is currently in that room. I'll be honest, it never – I was really high on, and you know this, when they fired this guy, I was, wow, this is kind of another Joey McGuire type guy coming here.
Yeah, you loved it.
I did. I mean, I was very positive. Like, this is a great idea, bringing a well-known Texas high school coach. But as things progress, it never really had a good feel. It just didn't, it didn't feel comfortable. Like, it didn't have a good feel either way. I mean, even when we were down in Texas at those camps, I saw him, and it just, I don't know.
What do you mean, Sean?
We eyeball. I mean, we talked to every single coach there, every single coach other than him. Like, it was almost like I never got a chance to even really get to talk to the guy, or none of us did. I mean, I just felt like,
how was recruiting going for him?
And you didn't hear a lot in recruiting. I mean, I know not Fedoni, but Carter Nelson committed, but it never felt like he came here for Nebraska. It was Satterfield. It was Ed Foley. It was Matt Rhule.
Didn't come here for Wager.
Wager was not the guy.
Wager.
That recruited, I say.
Well, I said it wrong, but anyway, so you're not really giving Wager credit for Carter Nelson.
No. I mean, did he ever put boots? On the ground in Ainsworth?
Carter Nelson didn't talk about.
He never did. He didn't go out. I mean, Ed Foley would go out there.
Right.
Satterfield would go out there. Rhule had been out there.
Never talked about Wager, nor did his dad, nor did the head coach at Ainsworth. So yeah. Now, from a humanity standpoint, this is rough. I mean, this is rough for Wager. He just got Sean, I'd say it's a major opportunity for him. He's 52 years old. He got a major opportunity, career opportunity at age 52. Now, this doesn't have to be what are you seeing over there?
I'm just reading the report from LPD here. I just got it sent to me.
This doesn't have to be the death knell to his career. But it's obviously a major setback.
And then with that said, Josh Martin now will step in as the new tight ends coach, and he's got Division I experience. He was at SMU as a tight ends coach from 2018 to 2021. He was also a special teams coordinator. So they have a guy already in place. It was almost like they had an insurance policy, like, hey, we're going to take a chance on this guy, but we have another guy that's really good. And, from what I had heard, he had been heavily involved anyway. He had already kind of had.
I just said that a little bit ago. Yeah, absolutely.
A big voice with this tight end group. And man, what a critical, it's a critical position on this team.
It is.
You think about what they're trying to do.
It is a critical position, but it's not all due respect to tight end coaches all over America, it's not the hardest position to coach. It's often a spot where you'll see younger guys come up. So I don't want to diminish this, but I also don't want to overblow it. They have a guy in place. I agree with you that Coach Wager wasn't lighting the world on fire. So I heard some people saying, Sean, that this is good. It came out now instead of at Big Ten Media Days because it would have put a cloud on Big Ten Media Days for Nebraska. I don't know. This is the tight ends coach. This isn't a scandal of any sort. This is a DWI.
The low man on the totem pole.
By a low man on a totem pole. No, would it have been a cloud over Big Ten Media Days? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say Matt Rhule would have had to address it, but would it have been a line of questioning?
You know what would have been a cloud?
What?
If they would have not said anything and this police report got out before they did anything.
Yeah, that would
have been a cloud.
Yeah, that could have been bad. Yeah.
They jumped it. And you look at this record. There's a lot on this. He refused the preliminary test, possession, open container in the vehicle.
That's not good.
Careless driving.
That's not good.
And he was under the influence of 0.15 plus and refused the test. So
the open container, if you're the head coach, hey, Sean, if you're the head coach, and this isn't me judging anybody, this is me saying you got to put yourself in position of in the position of Matt Rhule. You have an open container? Yeah, you can't keep him. You just can't. It's not. I don't know. I kind of keep saying, especially a first-year coach who's laying down what his expectations for the program. I think it would have been tough to keep him. Again, we've seen though a coach get kept here. And Williams had multiple DWIs. So it's just
by an athletic director who was a lawyer, Sean Eichhorn, who was very careful. When you think about all that, Mike, that was really bizarre when you think back to it. But what was Keith Williams good at doing?
He was a great coach.
Getting players to Nebraska. Good coach.
Great recruiter and great coach.
Makes you,
Although, now hold on. Great recruiter. I don't know. What did he leave the room? How did he leave the room for Frost? How did he leave the room, Sean? How many guys were on scholarship that were still around? Not many.
Not many.
Yeah.
He was good at getting at least people captivated, but he wasn't good at closing. But I want to bring this point up too. What are your thoughts? You think about this tight end coach job. They had a pretty darn good, and I get it. Matt Rhule's new, wanted to bring his own guys in. But Sean Beckton, you just think about him.
Yeah.
Glad
you brought that up.
This is a guy that is about as professional as it gets. And he's responsible for bringing some of the best players on this roster. Quentin Newsome, Miles Farmer. Mm-hmm. You go down the line. A lot of the drafted players were his recruits.
Yeah. Now, Sean, total second guess. We're just completely second guess.
Was he ever? Was he ever even? My guess is he wasn't considered because Matt Rhule wanted to go in a new direction.
Right.
That's why you bring in like a Dvorak over keeping a Barrett Ruud.
Right.
Because you'd rather have your own version of Barrett Ruud.
Right.
That's Dvorak, who played for Rhule.
Right.
But yeah,
Beckton's experience versus Wager's experience. Come on.
He groomed a first team all Big Ten tight end.
Right.
Austin Allen.
Again, though, you know how it is. Head coaches come in and they want their own guys, and Beckton got caught up in that. And again, we're doing is second guessing, which isn't a great look. But I get what you're saying. Beckton, both of us happen to have profound respect for Beckton, and he did a great job here. And he would have fit. I think he would fit with this staff. I think he'd fit with Matt Rhule.
He'd fit with
remember
anybody.
Becton, he was a very no-nonsense guy. He would come up to those press conferences and sometimes say things that would kind of take me aback. Like, man.
He always struck me as a head coach.
Yeah, he would lay it on the line in a good way. He was very forthright. Yeah. Well, again, I think they come out of this fine because of the setup. I guess you give Rhule credit for that, for having a guy like Josh Martin
ready to roll.
Yeah, ready to roll. I don't think it will cause a problem at all, especially based on what I've heard about Wager and the room. Just wasn't that great.
Well, and Marcus Satterfield has coached tight ends before. Matt Rhule has. I mean, that's the one thing about
Satterfield's coach tight ends.
Rhule's coaching model.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Satterfield's coach offensive line.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh yeah. No, what you're saying about Rhule's coaching models, he likes coaches that have moved around a lot, that have coached different positions. When I say moved around, Sean, I don't mean job to job. I mean position to position. And Rhule has. Hey, look at Matt Rhule's resume. He's went position to position, both sides of the ball. So yeah. Doesn't have to be a horrible thing. Again, horrible thing for the coach, Coach Wager.
And his son, Gage Wager, is set to be a walk-on in the program.
It's a really rough deal, but, I mean, he did what he did. I mean, I believe that, and I don't mind saying this, I don't think Rhule really had a choice here. You could say, Sean, no, he had a choice. He could have kept him. Not with the messages that Rhule sends out. Well,
I mean, you only get so many times you can use that card.
All right.
And is this the one time you want to use it in this situation?
So.
I mean, you might get a situation like Tom Osborne, Lawrence Phillips. He put his
player. That was a player.
But, he
put his 52-year-old man.
I'm just saying, like, as a coach, you have an opportunity to, like Keith Williams, they chose to back him in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Back to Becton, though, somebody brought up a good point. Nebraska is technically still paying him right now till December. So
it's interesting, isn't it?
Trev could be like, hey, Sean, we need you to come back and earn this money.
I think they got their guy.
No, yeah, you're right. No, Josh Martin, highly respected guy. And I think the other staff members, particularly Satterfield, are going to have a big voice. And Rhule will probably help that room out this first week. And I like the fact they're going to be living together in these dorms.
Now, some people, Sean, are going to say, why didn't you guys ever address these Wager concerns that you had publicly? Well,
because how do you do it?
There wasn't much, right? There wasn't much to say. And quite honestly, we just heard some stuff this week.
Actually, before this even happened.
Right. But it was this week.
We heard a couple of things that's got our attention. But
right.
In the job that we have, I don't think people quite understand. You and we get dozens of things that get your attention. Doesn't mean we can go on the air and tell you guys.
Right. Rumors.
I mean, if we did, it'd be fun for that episode, but then we'd all lose our jobs or our sources
people get tired of us being rumor
or you lose your credibility.
Right. They get tired of you being a rumor monger. But I don't mind saying now we had heard some things that were sort of concerning. And this is it. I mean, it's a rough deal for Bob Wager. I do not think it has to be a rough deal for the program.
I mean, we're talking about a $280,000 a year tight end coach, which is one of the lowest paid position coaches in the entire Big Ten Conference. Yeah. I mean, if you were to take the 140 full-time position coaches, Garrett McGuire and Bob Wager at 280,000 or whatever that they're at 250 or whatever that number. I mean, it's one of the lowest numbers of any coach in this conference. So yeah, this is not a coordinator.
No, that would be a heavy blow.
It's a very pluggable spot.
Heavy blow would be a coordinator.
Okay. Headline number 2, and we kind of had to rework the show back from Big Ten Media Days. So we wanted to focus on that obviously with this show, but headline number 2, once feared Nebraska now seeking respect. Steve Sipple.
That was Matt Rhule's message at the main podium to reporters. That's it. That Nebraska wants to get to a point now, according to Rhule, where opponents have more respect for them, for it. The players themselves respect playing for Nebraska more. Just a general respect. Sean, you're old enough, and certainly I'm old enough to remember when Nebraska was feared. Now it's getting to be a long time ago. I would say I would say they were last feared in 2001.
I mean, I would say there were moments during the 09 and 10. I mean, they were a top 5 team in 2010.
I'm not saying that. I mean, they were, but I don't think they were real feared. I mean, they were good, but
they were in the top 5.
I know, but they weren't feared. Not like they were under Osborne. No way. Like, I'm not giving
where you'd say like they're like Alabama or Georgia coming into like
Bo never had them like that.
Well, just think about this: like when Nebraska plays Ohio State, and you go down that field for pregame warmups.
That's it.
And you would be down there, and you're just seeing grown men.
That's it.
And they're like, and I mean, and
that's it.
I mean, you look over at these guys, and you're like, God, Nebraska's got to play.
Oh, there was some. Hey, we're gonna get this show. We got to get it upbeat here pretty quick. But there was some sobering reality to what we heard from Rhule and from the players. There was some pretty sobering reality. That itself, I love it. I love what Matt Rhule said. I think that's exactly right. You got to get respect. Nebraska's got to get back to being respected. What? Go ahead.
Just think about the media when we're doing the interviews. How many big time people or other groups of media were around Rhule? The Penn State people had a few people there because Matt Rhule played at Penn State, but it wasn't like there was a huge collection of other teams' media.
Nope.
Their focus was Luke Fickell. Their focus was Jim Harbaugh. Their focus was
Fleck.
PJ
Fleck, yeah.
So as far as like coaches that you wanted to spend your time on, he was probably 4th down the line.
Yeah, I agree. So, and not only that, then you heard Piper say Ethan Piper was there. In fact, Sean, Ethan Piper, the only offensive lineman there yesterday of all the teams that were there, the 17.
That's a good observation.
Yeah, one offensive lineman. Ethan Piper was the only one. Now, Piper is Piper is great at the mic. He's very forthright. I can see why they bring him there. But he said, like that bit that he was saying about, I want to turn on the film and I want to see us playing hard every play. This kind of makes you cringe. Like, wait a second. That wasn't happening. I mean, this is a program that has a ways to go. And that's what I mean by some sobering reality. It's a program that has a way to go. You heard what you wrote for tomorrow. It'll be in the Saturday morning. It'll be on the website Saturday morning. What Reimer said. It was kind of rough, right? Tell people what Reimer said.
Well,
said
just
at the podium
that they had to get everybody bought in, and
a lot of guys did.
And Rhule just said,
some guys didn't.
We're doing things my way because this is how we're a new staff, and we're going to do it that way. And if you don't like it, you can move on. And he goes, it was basically a weeding out process. And he didn't get into specifics, but we understand the attrition and some of the movement I look at Ernest Hausman. He didn't want to be a part of this, and he moved on, and he went to Michigan. You can't really fault what happened and how it played out for him.
Really, no.
Garrett Nelson, I look at it now, like, would he have been smarter to come back a year? He didn't get drafted.
All right.
I mean, now he's going to have to be an undrafted free agent to make hopefully a practice squad or a roster, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
But what would 1 year and a 3.35 would have done? I mean, I just think about some of those things.
Sure.
And some of those decisions players had to make. And then there were other guys that just moved on for different reasons.
On the bright side, as we know, Rhule is incredible at the mic, at the podium, at wherever.
Oh, no doubt.
And it was just, it wasn't, and I saw somebody on our message board, the Husker Online message board, say this. It must be nice, refreshing, not to be always be talking to a coach who's kind of combative. Scott Frost wasn't always combative. Bo Pelini wasn't always combative. Frost, as you remember, I walked away, Sean, I'll just tell you this. I walked away from last year's Big Ten Media Day saying Frost did a great job. Frost did a great job at the podium on that side session, which was 45 minutes. He did a great job, Frost did last year. But Rhule takes it to another level. And we heard a lot of critical things. The way he talked about the run game, how you noted in Tunnel Talk, that he doesn't want the quarterback to be a 3-yard, 4-yard run guy. He wants that to be explosive. He doesn't look, you know what? He says stuff that I just like, it just jives with the way I think a lot. he doesn't even count the quarterback run game as running as a rushing yard barometer.
That's kind of an NFL mentality.
It's kind of a Sipple mentality. When I say when I say conventional run game, I'm not talking about the quarterback just getting loose on a broken play. That's not what I consider rushing yards.
Well, in the college game, I don't know why they do this, but they count like sack yardage lost as part of the run game, which never has made sense. Where in the NFL, it's completely different. I mean, what you really want to see is what are your tailback runs and your true run plays getting you?
And then the answer, I get what you're saying. The answer that Rhule gave to the question of why do you like recruiting, he went on quite a role about that, and it was beautiful. He looks at recruiting as a form of competition, which it is, but you don't hear coaches put it that way very often. That this is just another way to compete. Recruit. I hear a lot of coaches grouse about it privately. I don't get the sense that he wants anybody grousing about it publicly or privately. He loves the evaluation process. He said he loves seeing evaluating a 14, 15-year-old and projecting what he's going to look like when he's 22. He doesn't care, he said, what others are doing. You've seen that, Sean, at these camps.
He goes, if I can't coach 4'4" and 10'5" broad and 38-inch vertical guys that can play football, I shouldn't be the coach.
He said, I can't coach. If I can't coach that, I can't coach. So he really lays it on the line. I mean, the thing about Rhule is he really lays it on the line. Like it's pretty hardcore sometimes in a good way, though. He would be, if you're not all in and you're not a worker, he'd be hard to deal with.
Well, just think about June.
I think about it.
And I mean, we got a taste of June.
We sure did.
And we're right.
You saw it. Sean, you saw it when you were in Belton and Houston. That was not easy. Those guys were coaching in Belton. Then they had to get to Houston. Two sessions all day. And then they had to get to Houston and do a
social.
A social where, 50 coaches plus were on hand and go into the night with that and then do a camp the next day in Houston. I mean, those coaches, and I'm going to tell you something. Well, you heard, I mean, we were both talking to Rhule. He was tired. I mean, there's no doubt he was tired. And he joked. He joked yesterday, but it was kind of one of those things where he was joking, but there's probably an element of truth to it. He goes, I about lost a couple coaches in June. I thought they're going to quit in June. It was one of those things that was like, okay, he's joking, but I wonder how much he's joking.
Well, because his coaches in June have to be a part of everything. They have to be a part of the camps and all elements. Then they have to be a part of the official visit weekends and all elements, where that's not the model in June at a lot of other places.
Right. A lot of places will sign GAs to a certain
and then the position coaches kind of make a lap.
Right. Right. And he said what he hopes is that parents see what his coaches are doing and what he's doing and say, look, if they're devoting this much energy to camps and to this evaluation process, think of the energy they'll devote to my son's mental health, physical health, development. And also another thing about Rhule, he's very consistent in his messages. And he has said, going back to when he was hired, what did he say about camps? Remember, he said those camps have to be well run, well structured. This is us putting our foot forward, and they have to be good. They have to, and you know what you saw? You saw them. They were well run.
3,000 kids went through, and he wants 4,000.
Yeah, he said he'd like to see 4,000 to 5,000 next year.
All right. Headline number 3: quarterback Jeff Sims comfortable in his role as a leader. Steve Sipple, you spent a lot of time around Jeff Sims in Indianapolis, representing Nebraska. I thought Coach Rhule had a really interesting take. Like, look, besides me, I know the guy everyone else is going to want to talk to every week is Jeff Sims. So that's why I brought him. He earned this opportunity. But I also understand, like, he's a big part of the story for this football team.
Sims was great. I mean, and I wondered how that would go because, he's at a podium and there's 30, 40, maybe 30 people firing questions. He handled it perfectly. He did come off as a strong leader. I thought there was some very interesting moments, like what drives him. You know what he said, Sean? His family. You know what he said? He said, "My dad, they're hard workers." He said, "I come from a family of hard workers. My dad started a lawn company, and it's a thriving lawn company. That's what his dad
And
does.
you can't take any days off mowing. I mean, in a lawn company. I mean,
Right.
I mean, the grass doesn't stop growing when you go on vacation.
I thought that was excellent. He's a serious, obviously serious, but he doesn't overdo it. He's eloquent. He takes that leadership. Oh yeah, it was fascinating. Listen to him talk about how he had to learn names and how diligent he was, Sean, about learning everybody's name. And I said, well, why is that important? Well, it's sort of obvious, but he said, how can I lead a guy? How can I go up to a guy, Sean? How can I go up to a guy and ask him to do something and I don't know his name? I mean, it's just common sense, but you know what he did? On their lockers, there's names, but there's also a photo. There's a name and a photo at their lockers. And he said, I had to go, there's times I had to go just study the names. Cause at first he said, I knew last names. But I had to learn first names and I had to get it down.
Think how hard that would be though, coming in.
Not easy.
He's
got to lead
a new building. And then you're expected to kind of run the show.
And you know what else he said? It was fascinating that goes along with that. And I'm going to write about this for Sunday. That goes along with the huddle. He said in the huddle, I got to know guys' names. I mean, and they're going to huddle a lot. Well, they're going to huddle. They're going to huddle, I think, every play. I mean, they're huddling. And he said, I like it. I like it because it's leadership. He goes, I get to look guys in the eye and say, hey, we're going to get this done. We got to get this done now. And there's a lot of that goes on. And that stuff was impressive to me.
I'd be curious to get some off the record takes from guys of just his approach as a new transfer quarterback compared to say Casey Thompson a year ago.
Yeah, I wouldn't think it'd be that much different. Casey was a good leader.
No, I just did. Casey know all the names? Did he study
I bet he
that
did.
kind of detail?
I bet he did.
I'd just be curious.
Oh, Sean, come on.
No,
Casey, you know Casey. I bet he knew names.
Casey is pretty detail oriented.
Yeah,
too.
he is.
I mean, I remember the first time I interviewed him, we talked just to like prepare for the interview.
Oh, Casey, I guarantee you he learned names. That would shock me. But anyway, yeah, he was. Oh yeah, the other thing he talked about, he was asked about which receivers he kind of favors and kind of hesitated. He didn't want to go there, like most wouldn't. But then he did acknowledge Kemp, that they came in together. And hey, Sean, just like you've said a lot, they're going to Billy Kemp a lot.
Billy Kemp's the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a proven number one level target that's going to get you 50, 60 catches probably.
I think you're right. And then the other thing he said that really opened my eyes, I think it struck a lot of people, was he was asked who the fastest receivers were. And he said Xavier Betts and Malachi Coleman. Now that's, Xavier goes probably 6'3" and 210, and Malachi's probably 6'6".
No, he's sick. Malachi's 6'4" and a half.
6'4" and a half. Probably
almost 6'5".
Well, probably close to 200.
He's over 2. I think he's probably close to 2 now.
He's looking pretty good. Those are 2 Nebraska kids. He said Xavier Betts, Jeff Sims said Xavier Betts is making plays that would make your jaw drop.
Don't you remember? I mean, think about that Northwestern like flip pass option play he got. Yeah. He went 85 yards on a defense that's geared to stop. Northwestern's defense under Pat Fitzgerald was not really it was built to not allow big plays.
Didn't he go do that against Penn State?
It was like 40 some.
Okay.
Or 50 some, but that was the longest. When Xavier Betts has played football for Nebraska in 2020 and 2021, he's delivered the 2 longest plays arguably of both those seasons.
Yeah, I repeat, Sims said he's made some catches that are jaw dropping. So that's a good sign. There's a lot. He said he clicked with Satterfield's offense instantly. He likes, he said something I loved about Rhule, Jeff Sims. He said what he likes about Rhule is that he comes off right away as being all business. And Rhule, as you've seen, Rhule to me, what he does really well is shifts from topic to topic and situation to situation and adapts quickly. It doesn't take long to get going. Like he just goes choom, choom, choom. Next topic, next situation, ready to go. And Sims appreciates that about him. It was, as you can tell, Sean, it was and we're going to be writing stuff. It was a very productive day. I mean, it really was, to me, it was fascinating.
All right, let's go. Headline number 4. coming out of media days, the Go Big project.
Yeah.
And then also the future of Memorial Stadium. But let's first start on the Go Big project, which is the Nebraska locker room, the new training table, a new weight room.
You asked about this.
That facility is coming along, and they have a good live camera view of it you can follow, and they're getting things done every day. But the main focus, and this is the live look right there, that's a piece of the practice turf. I've seen now what the new grass fields look like. They look beautiful. So those things are ready to go. The locker room, though, not quite ready, but it sounds like they could be in there, according to Trev Alberts and Matt Rhule, some point in August. So that's positive news. Now, Trev Alberts would not say the weight room. He did not want to put – I would think the weight room would be a lot – I mean, are they getting new equipment? I would imagine. Like,
yeah, that's not ready.
You don't build a brand new house and move the old furniture in, right?
Probably
Maybe
not.
you do, but I don't.
I move other whatever. We don't want to get into that. But anyway, hey, Sean, yeah, the weight room not ready. The coaches won't be over this. Yeah, coaches' offices won't be
in the training table and the
ready.
Dining area and the other elements of this building.
December,
if they're lucky, I think. And Trev Alberts said they're moving into 315,000 square feet. I mean, what is the size of like a Walmart? I mean, is it the size? I mean, like this kind of put into perspective, like the amount of space they're moving into. I mean, it's really remarkable just to think how big this is. And then the other challenge now moving forward is backfilling the space they move out of, because you're going to have the North Stadium weight room, the North Stadium coaches' offices and player meeting areas. Then you're going to have the entire West Stadium, which is currently the academic center, and the dining hall. All of that, in my opinion, has major value for the stadium. Like, they can use that as entertainment space
or something.
Ronnie Green, way back when in 2019, told me that was the plan.
Entertainment space. So
they could use, like, where the students currently eat, repurpose that into an area on game days for entertaining, like a sports bar and a restaurant, like a place for the high rollers. You know, like they have the Champions Club right now.
Yeah.
You could have that inside there.
That makes sense.
You could do a lot more with that space on game days. And they don't actually, Ronnie Green told me this back then, they don't have like a full kitchen in the stadium. They would now have this would give them like a kitchen space to use on game days and for events. And Trev Alberts talked about the stadium project too. And October 5th,
huge day,
Board of Regents meeting, where they're going to go over the plans for the stadium.
Yeah, Trev is going to present. Yeah, he's going to present a vision. I imagine that would be Trev presenting with the athletic department vision
and then
for Memorial Stadium
to Ted Carter and the Regents, I believe, both.
Yes, definitely. It's a Regents meeting.
And the proposal last year was between $300 and $500 million. That's the scope of the project they're looking at right now.
It's big. So yes. So remember, October 5th is a critical day. That's when, I imagine it would be Trev that would go. He'll go before the Regents and Ted Carter with their vision for Memorial Stadium's future, that's gigantic. You've written, I read it today, that much of this will be South Stadium oriented.
I think you're going to see. I think there's a demand for more premium seats, and I think you can put more suites there, more club seats. Make it cool to be in the South. Like, make it new, make it nice, and then all the money you're going to get for those seats, the suites and the club seats. I mean, that's big. That's revenue you weren't getting before. I mean, right now in Nebraska, I believe they have 102, 101 suites. Might be a little, like maybe 104 now, but at the time, I know when I wrote my book a while back, they had the most suites already in the Big Ten Conference.
When did you write that first book?
2013. So they had more suites in 2013 than Michigan and Ohio State did. And really only Alabama had more than they did. But everyone's suite stuff is different because there's suites that hold 20. There's suites that hold 8 or 6. So like that's a little misleading. But a suite goes for anywhere between 100 to 150,000 per year.
Yeah. Well, you got to start writing some novels, Hemingway.
And you can, I mean,
sorry.
So if you can figure out a way to put 8 more suites in the South, all of a sudden that's $1 million more per year.
So yeah, much of it will be South Stadium oriented, not all of it. Interestingly, Trev Alberts said the catalyst to a lot of this change in the stadium is the Go Big facility itself. That's causing, it kind of leads into the topic. It leads into much of the
A to B to C. It just kind of like as each thing happens, you can kind of do everything else. And the new training table is going to be phenomenal when that's done.
Mm-hmm.
And
what a critical time. I mean, this is Trev. This is a big leadership time for Trev. Megan showed that the training facility right next to the stadium, and it's beautiful. God, I mean that photo she just flashed a little bit ago. That place is gorgeous. That is a gorgeous. Like, I'm all about, for restaurants and businesses, presentation, curb appeal. I'm all about it. Like Freddy's restaurant is incredible. Freddy's does it as good as anybody. As far as fast food places.
And they make real burgers there. They're not like just.
But look at Freddy's presentation.
Oh, it looks great.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Now the presentation
Freddy's
of this facility is gorgeous. It is gorgeous curb appeal. I really laud them for that. It's important, and they got it.
And I do think it's important that you have a guy in Trev Alberts that truly understands Nebraska fans, Memorial Stadium, and so it's not just some outside guy. I don't know if I'd feel great about Sean Eichhorst running this type of deal.
Easy.
No, I don't say easy.
Easy.
But at least Trev Alberts has a better feel for the fan base and the people.
Oh, absolutely. And he's a visionary.
I mean, this is a real opportunity for him, and I think a real strength for him. And
here's what it is, Sean. Here's what it is. Trev appreciates the magnitude and the importance of this place. And by the way, so does Rhule. And I wouldn't say that about every coach that's come down the pike here. I wouldn't say that about every AD that's come down the pike here. But Trev, I'm not saying he's the perfect human being. I don't even know if he's the perfect person for the job, but he does respect the magnitude of his position. And he understands how important this stuff is for the present and both the present and the future. And that makes me feel confident.
All right. Final headline number 5. Just some final thoughts out of Big Ten Media Days. We've kind of already hit on this, Steve, but just Matt Rhule wowed at Media Days as expected. I know that was something you wanted to hit on. Was there anything more on that?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's some news. I mean, Eric Gilbert.
Oh, yeah. I was going to get to that next, but okay. I wanted to start with Matt Rhule. Was there anything more about Rhule's appearance that we didn't cover?
Oh, a little bit. I mean, just like how comfortable he is away from the mic with the media now already. He's already kind of familiarized himself with the guys and the women that cover the team. It's really interesting. He loves people, he says. He says that, and it's pretty evident that he means it. He does. He's definitely he is a people person. He's much different than some of the coaches we've had here. He's the, in many ways, the polar opposite of Frost. He feels very comfortable around people and doesn't mind people asking him personal questions. So it's not combative.
Think about this too. Like, he made this comment. I told my guys we're going to be the first people in this arena. And so they got there whenever they got there.
Oh yeah. In Indy.
8, 9, 8. I mean, it didn't start till 11 and they were there at least 2 hours before it started. And what he did, and I like this because I understand you're a radio host. I've been around Radio Row, on Radio Row at Media Days before too. Those are always the guys that kind of get the raw end of the deal, because for their shows to work, they need to get the one-on-ones and the sit downs. And it's hard as a radio station because once the actual Media Days events start, the coach is not going to have that kind of time to go and sit down on Radio Row.
Right.
Matt Rhule went in early with Jeff Sims and Trev Alberts and the players, and they made a lap around the entire Radio Row. And they said Matt Rhule to everybody, like, you have this guy, you have him for 7-8 minutes.
Yeah, he's very engaging.
Which
he's not only does it, he does it with enthusiasm. And we're doing now is.
And he was taking pictures of some of those guys. I mean, like our buddy Connor Happer did a little point. I'm not cool enough to understand when you point at someone and do like they point.
Just look at him, not me. Look at him. Look at him. This is about him, not me.
And so you see like those kind of photos and he was having fun.
Yeah. I mean, we're kind of staying the obvious. I think people have picked up now that Rhule is very people oriented. Now, he hasn't coached a game. We always got to come with that caveat. And he hasn't lost a game big, so we'll see how it all goes.
Like he sat down with Carney Radio for a set. I mean, like it's not like he's just doing like the big ones. Like he's doing them all. Like
no, and he's very good about, like you said, Sean. He wanted to be there first. He wants Nebraska to put its best foot forward in these situations, and it means something to him. I think that's really important.
Okay, some other news to get over. Marquise Buford out / limited. We don't safety.
Hurt his knee against Michigan. We didn't know. Hey, Sean, let's not act like we knew this. I mean, I didn't know that he wasn't going to play.
Well, Evan Cooper said like in June that they're in no rush to bring him back.
No, but he didn't say he wasn't going to play. So that was interesting to me. And that's it. Now, this is a critical player. I mean,
he's their most talented guy probably on the back end.
Yeah, he's talented, but he's also tough and he's smart.
Think about the plays in Ireland he made.
Oh, hell yeah, absolutely. This is a good player. This is not a small item. They happen to be blessed with depth at safety. That helps. But I think this was a starter. I mean,
no question.
Yeah. So, and he's versatile. I mean, this is a guy you could move to corner legitimately if you wanted to. You can move him around back there.
All right, tight end Arik Gilbert. No word on that waiver for Gilbert, and Rhule does not seem too worried and said, in fact, he goes, he should be getting this waiver. I mean, he'd be pretty almost disappointed, it felt like, if the NCAA didn't rule in his favor. With that said, this is a legit NFL prospect. I've been told that there will be pro scouts that will come to Nebraska's fall camp, and Gilbert is on their list of guys to watch.
Yeah, you said something to me in the airport that really stopped me in my tracks. He's the most highly recruited tight end.
Ranked.
Most highly ranked tight end recruit since recruiting rankings began in 2000.
Yeah, so 24 years or whatever.
Yeah, the most highly ranked tight end prospect
in the rankings era.
And remember too, after he did play as a freshman at LSU, Sean, and caught 35 passes for 368 yards and was a preseason All-American in 2022. Now it didn't pan out, but you hear what these coaches say about him. And, I work alongside Bill Bush every day on my radio show. And Bush gushes.
Well, he coached him at LSU.
Coached him on special teams, and he said he made things look incredibly easy on special teams. He's just a football player. So why I bring this up, Sean, is because we talk about him all the time. Well, this is why we talk about him, because he's a potential difference maker.
He's a legitimate 5-star talent.
Yeah, he is.
And he's had other things that have held him back the last 2 seasons. Yeah. But when on the field playing football, he's as talented of a tight end as we've ever seen here. As far as his toolbox.
His toolbox, yeah.
Like, I'm not saying, but he was a freshman All-American. He was a preseason All-American.
Yeah. We're not talking about somebody who hasn't done it. 35 catches for 368 yards as a true freshman at LSU
in the shortened 2020 season.
Yeah. He was a playmaker. And so, yeah. So, and the other part of this is, man, if you have Gilbert and you have Fedoni and Borkercher, you have a very strong position. I'm saying very strong. And they're going to use them. That's another thing that Sims talked about. They're super excited about the tight end position, and they're going to use them. They're going to use them in the red zone. I think Fedoni. I think Fedoni's going to have a big year. I don't mind saying that on the air.
He should.
Why not? I know people are going to say, okay, here we go. Sip putting hype on it. And I don't know why. I mean, he's a 4-star, 5-star guy out of high school. He's very talented. He's got a great attitude.
Jim Harbaugh came to watch him play a high school basketball game. Georgia was there. I mean, everybody wanted this guy.
He's got a ton of want to. He's got a ton of talent. Just got to throw the ball to him.
Nebraska had nothing to do with why he hasn't played yet.
Right.
I mean, he had some bad injury luck and nothing to do with coaching or anything in Nebraska. It was bad luck.
And you know what they did too? I give them credit. Nebraska, they didn't rush him back. I mean, they let him.
He was trying to come back.
Yeah, they let him. They allowed him to get back fully. I don't think there's anything stopping him.
All right, not a surprise. Teddy Prohaska, good to go. That's big for the left tackle. And then 2 roster notes. Seth Malcolm and Chase Androff, a linebacker and a tight end, no longer on the 85 scholarship chart for Nebraska. They are off the roster. These were two guys, I believe, that might have taken that early retirement package. They didn't go in the transfer portal, but they can stay at Nebraska as a student and keep all of their funding and their stipends. So
Malcolm didn't surprise me. Androff did.
What I was told on Androff is his body never added weight. He was way undersized.
Okay.
Like, he never got up.
Tight end.
Yeah. For him to get to where he needed to be physically to compete, because he wasn't fast. He needed to be a big beefy,
He needed to be a thumper.
Like almost an extra. Like they thought he was going to be like a Vokalek.
Yeah.
And that wasn't going to happen. And I think he knew it, is my guess. And look, you stay at Nebraska, and that doesn't mean they're done with football. You can do this 1 year, 2 year stay at Nebraska. You can try to play somewhere else down the road. You're not like locked into that deal for life. You can leave this deal and go back and play somewhere.
You're right. The red flag on Malcolm occurred last summer.
Barrett Ruud.
When I was up here, Sean, covering Barrett Ruud on the radio, and Barrett raised a red flag on Malcolm when he said, some guys like Scott Shanley made a seamless transition from 8-man football to the big, to Power 5 football. He said Malcolm hasn't made it. And you don't hear that, particularly from a guy like Barrett. Barrett usually doesn't go that far into evaluation publicly. But that was a huge red flag to me.
And look, when you have 85 scholarship guys, this is just going to happen. This is
sure. Not everybody pans out.
This is life in the big city.
Yeah,
I mean, you're going to have a few things like this happen, and it makes total perfect sense. But fall camp for Nebraska, players report Sunday. They move in the dorm Sunday. They have fan day Sunday afternoon, meetings, then practice is right away Monday morning.
Yeah, there you go. We'll be there.
So, and we get
some of it.
We get photos. We'll have a photo gallery at practice, and we'll have plenty of coverage from that opening practice for Nebraska as the Huskers open up fall camp. But we're back from Indianapolis, ready to roll. Practice starts Monday, fan day Saturday.
You get ready, Sean.
Make sure you're on HuskerOnline.com. We'll keep you up to date with all of the latest news as it breaks from fall camp. Make sure you like us right here on the YouTube page. Follow, subscribe to us. Also, if you want to catch us on the podcast side, just type Husker Online anywhere you can find podcasts. For Steve Sipple, I'm Sean Callahan, signing off for another edition of Husker Online Headlines.